Have you seen people get happier and healthier after divorce?
The divorce glow.
Is there anything like that?
Yeah. You need to know what you're doing with your finances, not just because of divorce. It could happen that your husband passes away. You don't know where the assets are. What are you going to do? You want us to move to Dubai? I'm going to stay away from my family. How much are we making in Dubai? Not how much are you making? How much are we making in Dubai?
So it's a we, not a you, right?
Well, we're married. If we're married, it's supposed to be we.
Madeleine.
We are joined by Madeleine Mendy, a family and divorce lawyer. With over 14 years of legal practice in Dubai, having guided countless individuals and families through some of the most challenging moments of their lives, she shares what truly happens behind closed doors, the biggest mistakes couples make, and what everyone, married or single, needs to understand about divorce.
Don't look if you're not prepared to leave.
If you don't trust the person, or if there is a sign that something is not right, why stay there?
What's the point of going to check your partner's phone, finding out they're cheating, you have an argument, and then you'll turn around and you'll just sleep? You're losing your credibility.
In all your years as a divorce lawyer, what has divorce taught you about love?
A bad wife or a bad husband doesn't make a bad parent.
What's the difference?
My team keep telling me that a majority of people who watch the show aren't subscribed. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, do us a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and engage with the content. It might seem small though, but it goes a long way to help us grow, reach more people, and keep bringing you real, honest, and thought-provoking conversations every single time. We are committed to delivering value, so subscribe and let's get into it.
Hi, welcome to the show, Madeleine.
Thank you.
How you
for
doing?
having me. Good.
How's the year been? 2026. We're like in June right now, so how is it?
I mean, I think 2026 is a year we couldn't have predicted.
Okay.
Especially if you've lived in the UAE, right? For me, when I look at 2026, I look at pre-February the 28th and after February the 28th.
Okay.
Especially for those of us that call UAE home. For the people that have been here just not many years, they were able to pack up and just go. But for those of us, the majority of us that called UAE home, it was a shake-up. But also a shake-up in a good way, because it reminded you of how important the UAE was to you. I remember my family calling me. So some of my family's in France. And the rest is West African. They're like, come home. I'm like, well, home is here.
Exactly. Home is here.
Home is here.
There's something the UAE does to you when you come here. It gives you that sense of belonging at some point.
Definitely.
You feel relaxed. There's this safety.
Yes.
There's this orderliness,
Yes.
apparently. So
And it gives you I remember I did a LinkedIn post when that happened, and it gives you dreams. It gives you the ability to believe that you can achieve your dreams. That's what the UAE does for you. So for me, I've been here nearly 14 years, just about 14 years. I couldn't see myself leaving. How can you leave something that's given you so much?
yeah.
And I suppose, were we in danger? Were we not in danger? I don't know. But we've made it through.
But we're good. Everything
exactly.
seems to be stable right now, so we're good.
We're good.
So I think I want to start with, what is it that you do and what drew you into that field?
Right. So I give different answers for this question normally. I give, if you're part of my church groups, then I'll just say I work in family law.
Okay.
If you're outside of my church group, then I'll say I'm a divorce lawyer.
All right.
And I initially train as a family law lawyer. When you do family law, you do children law and then divorce law. But when I came to the UAE, I specialized in divorces, and that's what I've been doing for 14 years. When I first arrived, it's not so much because I had a calling for it, but when I arrived in the UAE 14 years ago, I wanted to do child abuse, because that's what I specialized in England. We call it public law work. But at the time, they were saying that there were no child abuse cases, or at least where a lawyer was required. So I had to move to the next best thing. Well, can't really call it best thing when you talk about child abuse, but I had to move to the next thing close to my field, and that was divorces. And I've created a good niche from that. It's it's an interesting practice.
Okay. So before we talk about divorce, which apparently that's like a specialty, let's zoom out a bit. A society, where are we when it comes to understanding, sustaining love?
I didn't come to talk about love.
Because before we talk about divorce, let's start there, right?
Yes. I mean, to be fair, as a divorce lawyer, and we do a lot of divorces, I think if I look at you're talking about how this year went in terms of my practice. As of yesterday, we've had over 350 inquiries. That's every day, people that contact my office.
That's a huge number,
from the beginning
though.
of the year. Yes, that's 2 a day, if you count every single day of the week. And in fact, we're only working for 5 days a week. So
Why do you think so, though? Why such a number?
I think because of where we are, not so much to give Dubai a bad reputation, but we need to remember that a lot of people came here initially and got married because they thought that to live together before you needed to be married. Other people got married because they felt pregnant and they felt right because of what the law used to be before. They had to get married. They got married. These are people that were not supposed to get married. I've met clients that I've met on social media platforms, got pregnant within a month and went and got married, and then I meet them 2 years later, and you get a lot of those divorces. And people that get married too quickly. You are in that phase of meeting and you're enjoying, talking about love, you're enjoying each other's company, and you think this is it, but you forget that this is just the start of a relationship. The start of the relationship is often very sweet, and people get married in that period. And because now that we've introduced 24 hours marriages in Abu Dhabi, where you just pay 2,500 dirhams and you get married within 24 hours, people get married quickly, and they get divorced quickly too.
How can we, try to manage that? Because they go in smoothly
Yes.
and come out so
Yes.
easily.
For me, I'm glad you've asked me that question, because I hope this goes out. But for me, we need to have real policies about marriages and divorce. This year in the UAE is the year of the family, and I really hope, although we've had a lot of new laws on accommodating Western principles and civil law in different parts of the country when it comes to family law and divorces, what I would hope is to have real policies for real families, where we don't change our original values, where adultery was a crime, where getting divorced was difficult. Now you can be divorced in Abu Dhabi in 30 days guarantee. In Dubai, you can get divorced without consent within 6 to 8 weeks, and you don't sort out the finances. So I think we've made it too easy for divorce, and that needs to be made more difficult.
So you say getting a divorce should be more difficult. Why?
Yes. Because then it makes you think twice. I've had clients that I've met, especially at the beginning, who get an argument. They'll call me and say, "That's it. I need advice from you. I'm going to get divorced." I'm like, "Okay." One of the questions I have for the clients is, "When did you separate?" "Last week." I'll say, "Go back. Go back. Think it through. Take therapy. Once you've had therapy and really you want to proceed, then come back to me." Because they're a knee-jerk reaction. We forget that relationships, things change, hormones, anger, habits, everything comes in together, and you have to take that into consideration. It has to be a long, thought-out process. I've had couples that have come to me, started the process, and stopped it.
Madeleine, I can't help but ask you this question, because you said something about getting a divorce should be more difficult. But some persons would say that they are getting a divorce because they feel uncomfortable in that marriage, no matter how long the marriage has been, and they want to leave. And if I've seen people celebrate getting divorced.
Yes.
So if you're making it hard or a lot difficult, some persons in abusive marriages, or some persons in marriages where they no longer feel loved or feel welcome, don't you think that would be like a very, serious issue for them?
No, because when we're talking about divorce, we're not talking about living together. If you're in a marriage where you're being abused, if you're in a marriage where, as you say, you're no longer comfortable, nothing stops you from living separately. But the divorce process has to be slower because many things have to be taken into consideration. It is not right for people to be able to be divorced very quickly and the issue of the finances have not been dealt with yet. The issue of custodies have not been dealt with yet. Because at the moment we're divorcing people, spouses, mostly women, lose their residence visa, and then we haven't sorted out the children, we haven't sorted out the money. No, if you are in an abusive relationship, of course you should have the right to leave that relationship, but the divorce process itself must follow proper steps. There should be safeguards so that by the time the divorce is finished, everyone involved has been protected.
Madeleine, if you could sit and talk to every engaged couple, what would you make them understand before marriage?
That we should forget what we see in Hollywood, Nollywood, Bollywood, that marriage is amazing and it's butterflies, and it's not.
Are those fairy tales?
It's not a fairy tale, and we need to stop selling to little girls the story of Cinderella and the man that's coming to come on his white horse. Doesn't exist. Marriage is great, marriage is bad. It's like this. It's a ride. And you stay for the long ride or you stay for a short ride. You might stay when you guys are on top, and then when you go down, you need to buckle down. But the problem is at the moment, people stay for the height. But when we are low, and sometimes relationships go really low, you could be not attracted to your husband anymore. Sometimes people come to me and say, I don't love him anymore. Yeah, but love is not required for your marriage. And that's the reality.
Oh.
It's true.
So you actually think that love is not required to actually stay married?
No. You can love someone at the beginning. That could be your foundation. But it doesn't... You can hate your husband sometimes.
How so?
Because he annoys you. He could have behavior or develop. You can't be the same person. Let's say people that got married at 21 years old, have gone through life, finished the university, got their career, had children. That person's not the same that you married at 21 years old. It's going to annoy you. When you have children and you're the one waking up to feed the children and he's not available, or when you go to work and you come back, she's not work all day, she's at home, she's not cooked, she's not done anything, the house is going to piss you off. We do. It's human nature. We were not born together.
So what are we supposed to do with that?
Patience. Be patient and give each other grace. But there are boundaries you can't cross. For some of us, the boundary could be, I don't accept you stepping out of the marriage and committing adultery. That's a red line for many people, right? Or another red line could be domestic violence. You've hit me, you're out. You're emotionally cheated, you're out. You need to put, I think, as an engaged couple, you need to have the framework of your marriage.
What does that look like?
As this relationship is going to go into one partnership where we are one, because that's what technically marriage is, we need to look at what's our values as a married couple. Are we okay with us having best friends of the opposite sex? If we're not, let's talk about it. Are we okay? What are we going to do with managing debts? Because money is a big issue with marriages. How are we dealing with finances in the house? Are you going to be open about your finances? Are you going to keep your salary aside? You're not going to tell me how much you earn? Are we going to put our money together? That's important. Are we okay to give money to families? How much of our salary are we going to give to our families a year? Okay, in donation, in supporting our family. How do we feel if our parents get old and them coming to live with us? How long can your mother stay on holiday in the house?
These are very important conversations.
These are conversations that break couples. If we're having a child, I'm Muslim, I'll give you an example. I'm Muslim, you're not Muslim. We're both from different cultures, especially for Dubai couples. We're both from different cultures. How are we going to raise our child? These are important things that need to be asked. You don't just go and pick a dress. You're picking someone for life. And you need to ask those questions. Sometimes we take longer in preparing the marriage and preparing the wedding and the caterers and choosing the dress and whatever than actually sitting down and saying, right, what's our code of conduct here? How are we going to do this thing?
Madeleine, what are those conversations from your experience that you feel most couples don't have or they avoid before marriage, and it ends up hurting their marriage?
Money. The amount of people I meet, most of them educated, where one of them would have taken, and traditionally in the UAE, the man, in expat couples, the man would have taken over the finances, or he receives his salary, and the wife doesn't even have a bank account. She doesn't know how much he earns. She doesn't know how much they spend. She just has a credit card. There's a signatory. How are you building like this? You say to her, how much do you guys have? I don't know. You can't. You need to, even if it's annually or if it's once every 6 months, you need to know what you're doing with your finances as a family. Not just because of divorce. It could happen that your husband passes away. You don't know where the assets are. What are you going to do?
So at that point, who do you blame, or who do you think should be called out for that? Because should it be the man for not letting his household, his partner, know exactly what happens with his finances? Or could it be the woman for being ignorant and not asking the right questions?
I blame both, but I mainly blame the person that doesn't have the information. I often have people, I was going to say women because it's mainly the case, women that will come into me and say, oh, I had a lady this week, husband has all the assets in his name. So 15, 20-year marriage. That behavior didn't start now. That behavior started 20 years ago. And I remember saying to her, but, and then she was questioning and she's saying, oh, so that means I'm not going to get anything, I'm going to get screwed. And I said, well, you can't blame the lawyers or you can't blame the law. You've created the situation by not asking questions. You have to have those difficult discussions. That's why I say it's important to have them when you're in courting phase, so that when you bring them to marriage, you don't feel uncomfortable to say, well, you want us to move to Dubai, I'm going to stay away from my family. How much are we making in Dubai? Not how much are you making? How much are we making in Dubai? How much of that money are we going to put aside?
So it's a we, not a you, right?
Well, we're married.
Okay.
If we're married, it's supposed to be we. Because when it comes to divorce and we're divorcing, if we've had 2 children, those children are not my children, they're our children. So if the children are ours, the money should be ours. Whilst you're out setting up your business and working on your business, I'm at home looking after the kids. Am I living with the kids when we get in divorce? They will always be your kids. So the money should be the same. That's a very difficult concept. I'm talking like this, but most of my clients are men.
I actually had that question prepared for you, that, you know, in terms of your clients, are they predominantly men or women?
Men.
Why do you think they're actually more men?
I think they're more men. I think several reasons. The first one, I don't advertise at all. We don't have any advertising. We don't advertise. We just go by word of mouth. And traditionally, I've just advised men more. So that's just how. I think there's a group in Dubai, British Dads Dubai, where I'm getting a lot of clients from there. So mainly because of word of mouth. But also, I think intrinsically, women prefer to be guided by men. So I have a colleague in the city that works with a competing firm, a man called Byron James, and he has a lot of the women sometimes, and I have the men, and we're against each other. And I think it's because women probably just prefer to be advised by men.
Okay, because when I looked at some studies and statistics, I saw that majority of the divorce are actually initiated by women. So when you say that men reach out to you more, are they reaching out to you to fix the problem or to get a divorce?
Or even before that, sometimes I have men that say, I think this is not going to go well. Tell me how to prep this so that when I divorce in 2 or 3 years, I limit my liability.
Oh, so you have men that come to you ahead of time and
women, both, that come in ahead, especially when it's the main breadwinner. they'll come ahead in advance and say, right, how is this looking?
Is it actually okay to do that?
Are we talking morally or legally?
Both ways.
Well,
Because
yeah,
you
because
also
you're seeking legal advice.
okay.
You're seeking legal advice. And morally, you're just making sure what parameters you're working with. I'm a lawyer, so I'm going to be able to answer that whichever way.
Okay, because at some point, one would say that imagine your husband or your wife going to seek such an advice. Probably he thinks the marriage is over, and marriage is supposed to be something about trust, commitment, and all of that. So your husband or your wife going behind your back to talk to a divorce lawyer about wanting to get a divorce or something, that might just be like a very huge red flag.
It could be a red flag, but I've had clients where they've come, got advice, went back because the advice is not good. I've had ladies that have come, went back, got pregnant and stayed with their husband. Came back a few years later, but it still held on for a few more years.
Looking at the cases you've handled, what is the strongest thing that you think successful marriages have in common?
Patience and grace. You need
Grace.
When I say grace, you need to be able to forgive and move on. A lot of relationships that I see, people don't forgive each other. And it could be the slightest thing. But also not just patience and grace, you also need common values. And this is why, when you asked me earlier, why do we have more divorces in the region? I think because also there are more mixed marriages where people get together and they don't have the same foundations, the same values. And it's great at the beginning, but when you start living together, some of those differences come up. Could be, I don't accept shoes in the house. Well, you do. We have an issue about that. Or it could be that I eat pork. You don't eat pork. We have an issue about that. Why are you cooking pork in this pan when I'm cooking? I don't eat pork and I eat it in this pan. These are cases, no? And hygiene, different. Some people shower once a day. Some people shower 2 or 3 times a week. In couples, it creates issues. But more importantly, in mixed value couples, is when the child is born. When a child is born, you want, as an individual, as a parent, to give your child your best. And that comes with your culture and a sense of identity. You want to do that. Let's say, for example, you say you're Nigerian. Nigerian cultures are strong cultures. So you would want to give your child your Igbo values and cultures.
Yeah.
Let's say you've married a lady from Spain. Okay? Spain is also very strong cultures. There, unless you provide grace and patience to each other so that you come like this, it will not fit. Because that strong Spanish culture is going to come with that strong Nigerian culture. You're going to fight about what values. Forget about how your child grows. When your mom's going to come and want to do
Omugo,
right?
Okay.
When she will come and want to do omugo, your partner's going to think, I've just given birth. Why is this woman here for 3 months?
But don't you think such conversations should be, held before marriage? Okay. Exactly. Just like what you said.
Yes.
But you also said something striking, talking about this. It's forgiveness. Are there lines that cannot, be overlooked when you talk about forgiving your partner? Because I've had people say, I would never forgive him. He did this. This is like a no. Yeah. This is like a deal breaker.
Yes.
I've had men say, she did this. I would never forgive. It's done.
Yes.
And you spoke about most successful marriages. One of the things they have in common is forgiveness. So for people watching this, young couples, bachelors, spouses, what have you, and thinking, okay, divorce law is saying us to forgive. What should be the timeline? What should be like the things that the non-negotiables, by the way?
You see, this is why I say, depending on the individual, you need to have boundaries, the gates of that marriage. So if your boundary is, I don't accept adultery, then if he's broken that rule, if she's broken that rule, are you going to be able to forgive or not? Okay? And it might be something that you think is unforgivable and you walk away. I have clients that have left because husbands have committed adultery. I've had clients where their husbands have committed, they will say to me, Maddie, he's been cheating since we've been together. I spoke to a lady not long ago. They met each other in secondary school. and he was teaching in secondary school already. These guys then had 5 children, and they were in their 30s when she contacted me, late 30s. And I said, well, but is this a pattern that he had before? She said he was already cheating when we met in secondary school, but I had hoped that once we get married, he'll get it out of his system. 5 kids later, he's still cheating. That's not a boundary for her. Or at least all those were not a boundary for her. So I suppose it depends for people. And also I'm going to say something very controversial about cheating, but I've said it before. There are different types of cheating.
Such as?
There are different types of cheating.
Such as,
You know,
please? I'm curious now. I'm so curious now.
When I first started, people would say, oh, my husband emotionally cheated. And I thought, cheating is cheating. But actually, having worked with couples for 14 years, day in, day out, I live, breathe, do sleep divorces and relationship, I realized that there are different types of cheating. You have the physical need cheating, which you find often in men, where it's a physical need and they have a one-night stand with different people. And then you have the emotional cheating, where the partner actually confides in someone else other than you. The first one is easier to forgive than the second, because they've created a relationship with that person for them to be able to confide in them.
Okay.
The physical one, sometimes I have couples that come, or ladies that come, say, when was the last time, or men that come, when was the last time you had sex? And I ask them, when was the last time you had intercourse? Well, since my last one was born. How old is the last one? 5 years old.
How did that marriage work?
Cheating.
Okay.
Right? So there's always another side to cheating. And I know I'm going to get a lot of stick for that, but there is. Cheating it's not a reason.
What is it?
Well, it could be lack of attention. I'm not giving anyone a license for cheating, but if your partner, if he's not engaged in any, if it's a physical cheating, if you've not engaged in any intimacy with your partner for 2 years, 1 year, can you be surprised that they'll go and seek intimacy? Not always intercourse, but intimacy somewhere else. Can you be surprised of that? I asked that question online the other day, and someone come back to me and say, "But what if I'm sick?" Sickness, fine, but affection should still be there.
Okay. Talking about cheating, that's a very big subject, and I want to ask you a very direct question.
Tell me.
Because you mentioned about from the men, but don't women cheat? Or is it that they don't get caught or something?
No, they cheat. I've had cases where I've represented men where their wives cheated and they've left with the person they cheated with. I think there's always this misconception. And when you say that, people are like, oh, really? Women cheat? Why wouldn't they? They're human beings. The same way as I think we always think, oh, it's a man, he's weak, so he's cheating. No, it goes on the full spectrum. You have women that cheat. You have women that cheat and leave their children. It's not, I don't think we can define today's society with yesterday's values of our parents and grandparents' generation.
What's the difference between both generations, though?
The first word I was going to say was fear of God, but I think we've lost ourselves. I don't know if, I could say on certain values we've lost ourselves along the way. And others, we have decided that emancipating ourselves, especially women, meant freedom when it's not.
What is it?
I mean, I look at a typical day for a woman. You get up, you get your kids ready, you get yourself ready to go to work, you go to work, you rush, you finish, you work quickly, you rush back, you make sure kids are back up, homework, get them fed. This is typical day. I'm not talking about a Dubai day, but a typical day in a household for a woman.
Okay.
And then once you've finished, after you finish catering to your children, you then need to cater to your husband. How was your day? How are you? Here's food that I've created for you. Maybe you have to create food different than what you created for your husband. Then after you've done all of that, then you need to look after yourself. How is that liberating? It sounds like prison, especially if you don't have a nanny. It's impossible. And I know people will say, my mother, I have clients, one particular client, it's funny because I'm thinking about it. He says, she's complaining, but my mum used to do all of that. Your mum didn't go to work. Your mum didn't pay 50-50. So you can't say, oh, my mama did this, my mama did that, why can't you do it? When your mama wasn't earning as much as I was. She wasn't doing 50-50. She had a specific role that was to raise children. You can't ask me to raise our children, look after you, look after the household, and bring the same amount of money as you do. The assets should be in joint names. That generation didn't mind putting our houses in joint names. Why? Because they were one. They were doing things together.
So how do we correct this? Because
it's too far gone.
You think so?
Oh.
We can't salvage this?
You will know why I say it's too far gone? Because I see the generation that's coming after us.
What do you see in them?
I mean, I look at my nephews, I look at my nieces, I look at the generation even after them, right? I'm a 90-80 generation. I look at the 2000. My nephews are born in 2000. My older sister is much older than me. So my first set of nephew was born in 1990s, 2000. And then I look at the others. I have a niece who says she's generation beta, I think, or beta or whatever.
Okay.
She's 8. Hannah is just amazing. And when I see her, I think of the generation of women that are going to be walking with her. And boy, they're going to talk about equality, fairness, mental health, and they won't take any nonsense.
But it's supposed to be a good thing, right?
It is a good thing. And for me, I'm excited for that generation. I was talking about her because she was being bullied at school recently, and someone was calling her Blackie. I've heard that term, well, I didn't hear Blackie, but N-word in French, many times. That's where I was brought up in France. And it never created an issue for me because I just thought, you know what? You'll say that to your parents, they'll say, so what? Get used to it. Hannah was having
She's not taking that.
No nonsense. I remember she came from school. Her mum had called me and told me, and then Hannah said to me, Auntie Maddie, this is what happened. And she was not having it.
Very vocal, Nana, very vocal.
This generation
expressive
doesn't take nonsense. They will not take nonsense because they've been birthed by us. This is a generation where we didn't want to do our parents' mistakes, and we're giving them a voice, but maybe we're giving them too much of a voice. I don't know. Okay. But I'm excited about the women of that generation for sure.
All right. Let's get back to divorce. You have worked with numerous families. What is the reality of divorce that most people don't really understand until they experience it?
Stretching money to cover 2 houses, especially here in Dubai. The amount of people that come to me. I do high net worth clients, so a lot of high net worth cases where we're dividing millions of dirhams. We're not dividing hundreds, we're dividing millions, and sometimes much higher than that. High net worth and ultra in the high net worth. But if I put those aside, that's probably 50 to 60% of my cases. More than that probably, maybe 70% of my cases. And I look at those normal, well, I'm not saying my clients are not normal, but those people that are living on a normal standard of living, what they forget is how much it costs to get divorced, because you need to pay for 2 houses.
Is it expensive to get a divorce?
Well, divorce fees are expensive. I look at my rate. We're probably one of the cheapest hourly rate in the country, but still expensive. 2,300 dirhams to speak to me for an hour. It's crazy. It's you pay for the experience, you pay for the expertise, and it's 2,300, 3,000 dirhams, 3,500 dirhams an hour. It's expensive to get divorced, but that's the divorce process. What's more expensive when it comes to divorce is the aftermath. If you're ordered to pay for rent for one house and you have to pay for your own rent.
Who is supposed to do that though?
In the UAE, they say the man. And so I have cases where my clients are living in studios and their wives are living in bigger properties with their children because they have to pay. And for me, that's an injustice.
Why do you think it's an injustice?
Because we can't expect a man to shoulder all the financial expenses in a household and not be able to enjoy his children. We still have, unfortunately, even if the law has changed in terms of custody, we still have this idea that a man should cover all the family expenses. It's a lot of pressure because, let's say, typical family, 2 children, a boy and a girl, the wife, she moves into her own accommodation, you need 3 bedrooms, okay? Because the boy and the girls are not going to share. So she has a free bedroom that you're going to have to pay for. Then you need a free bedroom if you want your children to stay with you overnight. And often people can't afford that. So either they'll have a 1 bedroom and the children are sleeping on the sofa, and then the wife will say, well, if they're sleeping on the sofa, they can't come and stay with you. They need to have their own bedroom. But how can I afford their own bedroom? And you have people that are greatly affected by this. And this is why people turn to drinking. You have serious mental health issues. I know the government is doing a lot in assisting people that are suffering from alcoholism, and there was a big mental health drive by FASA, but it's a reality that we need to be aware of, because that's the other side of divorce. People suffer. I've had people come in my office and they would leave and I'll just sit there, or I'll call my assistant, speak to her and say, wow, this is what this person's just shared with me. And it's you wonder. Sometimes I've even checked on people, because I'll think they'll leave my office and I'll say, right, this person's probably going to harm themselves.
Talking about resources, something comes to mind: prenuptial agreement, prenups.
Yes.
You know, so how does it work here? Not just in the UAE, because we still have our viewers across the board. People usually say, I've had conversations with people. They will say, why talk about a prenup? Is it like you want the marriage to fail? So what exactly should a prenup be? You know, and is it really important to talk about it? Should we have those in marriages?
I think not just because I'm a divorce lawyer, but because I'm a divorce lawyer, also I can say that prenup are important. It's a very immature view to think, we're getting married, why are we thinking about divorce? It's not that. You're getting into a car, you're putting a seatbelt. Are you thinking about an accident? No, security. And what a prenup does, it says what you wanted to say. Could be whatever you had before the marriage you keep, whatever we build together, we divide 50-50. Or when we get in divorce, you have to give me $1 million dirhams. I have had cases where I remember a mother-in-law insisted when we did a prenup that if her son was to divorce her daughter-in-law, he would have to compensate her for every year of marriage with $100,000 for every year of marriage. Okay? You have some that compensate their wives.
That's a ridiculous clause, though.
Why? Maybe you'll think twice about getting divorced.
So maybe you stay in the marriage but that you don't want to stay,
or you work harder at
and
it.
your life will be miserable.
No, why? If you've loved someone before, that love will come back. You just need to work at it.
So love goes away, you fall out of love, and you fall in love again?
Of course. The amount of clients I've had, of people that I've come across, that would come in and say, I need to get a divorce. You call them 6 or 6 months, we've made up again. It comes and it goes. Sometimes you argue with someone, even your own siblings. Look at your siblings.
Yeah.
People that you've grown up with that know you. You argue with them, and then you don't want to talk to them anymore. You can go days, sometimes weeks, without talking about your siblings. Does that mean you don't love them? No. They'll come back. You'll meet again eventually. It's the same. Unless they've breached those boundaries that you've set, your red lines, which could be, and I'm saying could be because I can't impose them, domestic violence, cheating, whatever, then you work at it.
You just mentioned some causes of divorce, but if we look at what happened before and what's happening now, have the reasons for divorce changed from your experience and your day-to-day practice?
For me, it's not that they've changed, but some reason have got bigger. So before, when I first started here, adultery was present, but it wasn't, I'll probably say it was 10% of cases, 20% of cases. Now, 60 and 70% of cases. So it's not changed, it's just one part that's just taken over.
So people are saying, if you cheat on me, I'm out.
Or there's more adultery.
Okay.
Right? It could be that the level of adultery has increased. And I think the level of adultery has definitely increased. Or it's become more public. People are more sloppy. There are easier ways to catch relationships through phones, through different ways. And some people are proper detectives. I mean, FBI level detectives that I have met. So
Okay.
it's possible.
But I have a question regarding this. This scrutiny, or would I say being too, what's the word? Probably trying to be very, very cautious or very aware of your environment, I would say. What kind of environment does it create where you have to please your partner? You have to check your phones all the time.
No,
So
for me,
if you don't trust the person, or if there is a sign that something is not right, why stay there?
And I have this conversation with people where I say, and I think I did an Instagram post on that, and say, don't look if you're not prepared to leave. If you're not prepared to leave, because what's the point of going to check your partner's phone, finding out they're cheating, you have an argument, and then you'll turn around and you'll just sleep? You're losing your credibility, and you are saying to that person, you've cheated, you've broken that boundary, but it's okay.
But people say, that I've heard online sometimes, they would say, check. You just have to check.
Check that you can check, but you need to be prepared to leave, because if you don't leave, what credibility do you have? You can't be angry that your partner is cheating. You check his phone or her phone, found out they've cheated, make a fuss about it, and then 2 days later we're continuing to play mummy and daddy. Then don't check then. You have to keep some self-respect.
But some people say that we just have to be aware, so we know what's hitting us, what's going to hit us.
You're crying at night. So you cry at night to say, my husband's cheating. And then you increase your blood pressure because he's gone. It's now 5 p.m. He's not arrived. 5:05 he's not arrived. You start checking. You go and check the kilometers on his car to think, well, that's the distance. And I've had this from this place to his office. Where's he gone? You check his car. You put tracker in his. Why? Don't check. Because the only person that's suffering there is you. Your mental health is suffering. Your self-confidence is suffering. For me, if you check, you need to be ready to go. But you can't check and just stay. Why? You're torturing yourself.
But some persons, like I did say earlier on, they will want to know what exactly is happening. Sometimes if you're aware of your environment, you can probably know how to manage the situation.
So you'll see what you look like and they think, me too, I'll copy that wig. No. Because how do you manage? I mean, this finding out, it's either you find out and you don't expect accountability.
But sometimes some women will say, I've heard, okay, he's cheating, I would revenge. I'll have to cheat back.
Yes, a lot of people do that too.
So that's why I'm checking. If he cheated on me, I'll have to get a revenge.
As long as you act on it, fine. But if you're not going to act on it and he's getting a pass and he knows he's getting a pass, or she's getting a pass, you've opened yourself to more problems.
How so though?
Because it's like saying to a child, see, you've put these two water here.
Yeah.
You say to a child, don't spill this water. If you spill this water, okay, I'm going to take the bottles away. He comes, he opens the bottle, spills it, and he stares at you. Some kids do that. They stare at you, they're waiting for your reaction. If you don't know anything, he will open that second bottle, the third bottle, and the fourth bottle. But if he's opened it and you said, you know what, that was my boundary. I've told you not to do that. You've decided to do that. Then I'm removing myself from the situation. Either I'm removing myself from the situation or I'm going to react to the situation. But you can't be passive because you'll be opening all the other bottles. That's human nature.
Let's talk about after divorce at some point.
Yeah.
Have you seen people get happier and healthier after divorce?
Definitely. The divorce glow.
Is there anything like that?
Yeah. I think for women, it's funny and weird at the same time, because men and women, I think, deal with the end of relationship differently. A woman would be, depending, if she decided to proceed with the divorce, she would have already mourned that relationship during the marriage. So she's made the decision, she's getting divorced, she'll just glow from there. Okay. But if the decision has been imposed on her, as in the husband wanted the divorce, she'll struggle at the beginning. She'll mourn the relationship after the divorce. But after that, it's like an eagle. They're a phoenix. They look after themselves better. But it's a long period where you struggle. You struggle financially, emotionally, physically, but you get there. And it goes back to what you said earlier, to say, oh, you've heard that they say more women pull the trigger.
Yeah, they do most of the time,
Yes.
according to reports and
Yes.
statistics.
And from my experience, and this is not statistic based, but from my own experience with the clients I've come across, when a woman says she wants to get divorced, she's done. But she's been done months, sometimes years before. She's tried everything and everything. And she said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. A man can say to you, I want to proceed with a divorce, but he can always be convinced out of it, unless he has a partner there. But otherwise, he can be convinced out of it. But a woman generally, when she says she's done, she's done.
As a divorce lawyer, also a family lawyer, I want you to state some facts and some truths
Yes.
here, or some realities. What are the deal breakers that when this happens in relationships or marriages, you would strongly advise a divorce?
Domestic violence. Domestic violence. For me, it is not acceptable to put your hand on someone, whether you're a man or a woman, and in particular in front of your children. You can't. And you can't give that power to someone to say that it's okay for you to hit me. For me, that's a red line. Stronger red line than adultery. Definitely. But people, and it's funny because when you look at society, it's a lesser red line than adultery.
But I've also seen cases online, read books about it, stories that you get, for instance, a man abuses his partner and she comes back. Sometimes she even, when she's being talked out of it, he would come back and say,
Yes.
he loves me.
Of course.
But he loves you, but he hates you. How is that love?
Because you need to remember, with domestic violence victim, a man that will perpetrate domestic violence chooses his victim very well. And a woman the same. They choose their victim very well. I always use this image of the frog. If you want to boil a frog, okay, if you put it in boiling water, you throw it in, it will jump out. But if you put it in cold water and slowly turn the heat, after a while, it will be boiling, it won't be able to go anywhere. And that's what domestic violence perpetrators do. They put you in an environment. At the beginning, they will isolate you from your family. Your brother is envying you. Your friend, she's like this. I don't like her, she's too loud. Or she's single, I don't want you to have single friends. Slowly, your group and your support network becomes him. And you think, oh, it's just him and me. He loves me too much. He doesn't want me to dress this way. He wants me only to dress like this at home. He's already deciding how you're dressing. And then slowly he'll say, why are you going to work? I make enough money for the two of us. But you don't know where that money goes. All you have is a credit card. And slowly, because you've cut off all your support network, you've shaken your values and your identity, that's when they start. A man or a woman that hits doesn't hit you on the first date. They'll hit you at the beginning. They'll hit you when they know you can't go anywhere. That's what they do.
So at that point, maybe someone watching this right now is going through such a traumatic experience. What would you say to that person?
Get help. Get help. And if you've got my contact, get in touch. We help a lot of domestic violence victims, whether they go through some of the groups that are available online or they come to us directly. we've helped women in crazy situations. I've gone personally and taken children out of situations when clients have called me at night. We've assisted, we've paid for hotels for domestic violence victims that couldn't go home. Get help.
While you try to get help as a victim, let's talk about the perpetrators. Probably now, let's say you're seated with the powers that be that will punish the perpetrators of these heinous, activities. What punishment do you think would be able to, would help curb domestic violence?
I think the thing that help curbs domestic violence doesn't start with punishment, it starts with help. Because a perpetrator started as a blank canvas.
What is that?
I strongly believe, and maybe because I'm a children law lawyer at heart, I strongly believe that we all start as blank canvas as children. Very like a painting, completely white, completely blank, or completely black, and then people come and put colors, and they create you. They create your character, they create your values, they give you trauma, they give you love, in such a way. And I'm not justifying perpetrators, but there would have been somewhere along the line in that person's life that this character, where they thought it's okay to put their hands on people, was developed. So I think to curb domestic violence, first, on someone that is already a perpetrator, you need to get them help first to understand how they got there. And then there should be punishment. There should be imprisonment. But imprisonment or needs to be coupled with assistance, because that person will come back and do it again otherwise.
So it is fair to say that once something is done once, there's going to be a repetition.
Highly likely. If going back to our bottles here.
Okay.
If there's been no action, I've pushed the boundary, I've slapped you a little bit, right? You've not done anything, you've not made a fuss, you've gone, you've cried, and you've served me my food the next day. I know that next time I can still hit you, you're not going to do anything. Because this now has become a value that you've accepted. This is a standard you've accepted.
So you reject it from the onset.
You have to reject it from the onset. You have to reject it from the onset. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up.
Let's talk about documents here. What documents or records should people keep throughout a marriage? I know you've seen a lot of cases of lacunas in marriages and divorces. So what documents or records should people keep in marriages?
Your marriage certificate. I know this sounds basic, but to get divorced in the UAE, you need your marriage certificate. To get divorced anywhere in the world, you need your marriage certificate. And be surprised the amount of people that don't know where their marriage certificate is. So I'll say keep your marriage certificate. And if we're talking, the most important, because the marriage certificate, you can always get it reissued from when you got married. Most important, keep an eye on the finances. If you're buying a house, make sure that house is in both names and you have a copy of the title deed. Make sure if your wife says, listen, we need extra money because I want to put a swimming pool, when you go and add a loan on the property, you are there and you have a copy of that loan. You know how much it's going to be. You know what you're signing for. Not just someone that's going to come in the kitchen and say, can you please just put your name here? We're getting a loan. And then that's it. And then tomorrow, you don't even know how much loan has been put on your property. Can't do that. You have to be proactive about finances. You have to be proactive about the education you provide your children. But for me, because I see divorce on the other side, finances. Keep anything to do with the finances.
Talking about finances, what financial realities shock people the most during a divorce proceeding?
Let's go see the cost of lawyers. Apart from the cost of lawyers, I would say how much it takes to raise a child. Because we come back to this idea that you need to have two households.
Okay.
And then if it's a husband that has to pay, in January it's a husband that has to pay, we'll say, well, why am I going to pay that much? Why should I have to pay for her? I have clients that come to me and say, oh, I'm happy to pay everything for my son, but why am I going to pay for her? Because it might be someone that's given up their career to be able to look after your child.
But isn't that logical most times?
What, to pay for their partner?
I'm saying the man, and it's a question, not me
Mhm.
taking sides here. And the man is saying, okay, we're getting a divorce. I will take care of my kid. Why should I take care of her? Why should I take care of her?
Because, yeah, and that's
Isn't that a logical question?
it is and it isn't, because let's say we look at it from this way. If when this child was born, both of you continued your careers, and she took 6 weeks off, which is the UAE maternity leave, and then went into work, she got her money, you got your money, fine. And if you're doing 50-50 to look after that child, fine, nobody's life is being affected. But if you're continuing working and I'm staying at home to look after little Bobby, okay, Bobby Jr., I'm looking after for you, and then you're continuing your career, we get in divorce, and you're saying, well, I'm going to look after Bobby, but look after yourself. Well,
What if she's the one initiating the divorce? Just like statistics say, women, they initiate divorces more.
but it's still our money. It's still our money. Bobby is ours. Your money is ours. I've stayed at home and created an environment that enables you as a man to get up in the morning, take your breakfast and leave without thinking about anything else. Why? Because you know I'm going to look after your child. You know when you come back, the house
Your
is gonna be
child
ready.
or our child?
I'm going to look after our child. The house is going to be clean. But if it's our child, what I'm producing when I'm staying back, which is our child, you're producing our other child, and that's the money. And that needs to be the same way you want to spend time with Bobby. I want to spend time with that money. And it's a very hard concept for working men. And I have that a lot to most of my clients are men, and they say, well, why should I share my money with her? Well, because you have agreed during the marriage that this person should put their career on hold for you to be able to continue your career.
So don't you think that there should be a very important conversation about things like this?
Of course. I think that comes back to that question about the engaged couple. I think one of the basic questions you should have is, what are we going to do when we're going to have children? You put that in a prenup. If we're going to have children and I have to stop work, you need to pay me $10,000 a month for every month that I'm going to be at home. Why? Because I'm not going to have a salary. If you do that, I'm not going to ask you for money when you leave, because I still have my salary.
But I've also had cases where I've seen as well when certain prenups are struck out in.
Of course.
What could be the cause of that?
It could be, for example, I see we have general principle for divorces, for prenups, for recognition of prenups. A lot of countries do not recognize prenups, but because of case law, they've put some principle in place. So, for example, in the English court, minimum, you need to have signed that prenup 28 days before your wedding ceremony. Why? Because we want to make sure that you didn't sign it with pressure and that you knew exactly what was in it. You also had independent legal advice. A lawyer sat you down and said, this is what it means. You understand the language that it was written in. Okay? Can't just be someone that says sign here and you really don't understand what is written. Also, at the time that you signed the prenup, you knew how much he had or she had. Because you can't sign a document that says keep what you have now and I'm not going to take anything in it, and you don't know that the guy was maybe already a millionaire. Then if you didn't know, it's called disclosure, then that can be struck off. Or if you've signed it, you have a lot of ladies that are in the situation, if you signed a document, a prenup, whilst you were pregnant, and at the time in the UAE it was illegal to be pregnant without being married, and you had to be married, and you had no choice but to sign it, that's duress. You had no choice but to sign it. Then you can invalidate your prenup.
Amazing. These are very important information.
Yes.
You know. So let's look at something here. What is the most expensive thing people lose in a divorce that money cannot replace? Because I know you've spoken about money. Money is money. Money.
Yes, it's not money, it's your dream. Because nobody gets set to marry someone and create a family with someone without dreaming that this is forever. Whether you're a man or a woman, but especially women, you've grown up dreaming, especially this generation, the generation before us,
Yeah.
dreaming that you're going to meet somebody, buy a house, get married, whatever order, have children, and be there forever.
Mhm.
And marriage gives that to you, but divorce takes that dream away. When someone has been scarred by divorce, they don't love the same. They don't do marriage the same again. And I think that's what divorce does. It damages people. It really does damage people. It's good for me, but it damages people.
Is there a way back?
Ooh, I've had clients that have gone back. I've had clients who have spent. I have 3 cases at the moment. They've spent the best part of 800,000 dirhams in lawyers' cost, 1,000,000 dirhams in lawyers' cost. They've gone back together. So it's possible. It's possible. And that's why I always say therapy, therapy, therapy. Always try.
I would ask you, if I was going to get married today and I come to you before I get married, what would you say to me to help me avoid coming to sit with you again and asking for a divorce?
I will say have a common list of your boundaries. Have an agreement on how you're going to deal with finances and how you're going to share them. And stick to that. Make those, people call them prenups, I call them financial vows. Make financial vows to each other, not just, I'm going to love you until death do us apart. No, make real financial vows. If you're not working because you're looking after our children and I'm working, I'm going to open a joint account. What's in the joint account is going to belong to both of us. If we're going to buy a property, that property is going to be in both names. Or if we're going to buy a property, I believe it should be in my name. Have those discussions now. Because one of the biggest problem when you set aside cheating is money and the lack of money and how money is dealt with in families. And I think you need to have those conversations first. So that's what I would advise you to do. Have those conversations first so that you have clarity in terms of what you're going through. And then I'll say don't give up and get a good therapist. That's what I would say.
I before I move further on the show on other subjects, other angles to this, because something just struck me now. Because I've seen somebody lose half of what they own. They work so hard for because they got a divorce.
Yes.
And anytime I think about the subject of divorce, I cannot help but remember that.
Yes.
So some men will tell you, I'm never doing this again.
Yes.
A lady is going to come in and, after 5 years, she wants to take half of my
Yes.
shit. So what would you say about this?
Get a prenup. First I'll say get a prenup.
Okay.
I'll say get a prenup. And I can understand how frustrating sometimes it is to have worked really hard your whole life and to have to share. I have a couple of clients that are in that situation at the moment, worked very hard. Children have grown up and now they have to share half of their fortunes with their ex-wives and they don't want to do that. And it's hard to swallow, but you agreed during that relationship somewhere that this person could stay at home and not work and not create. You've agreed to that. So if you've agreed to that and accepted that, you can't then expect the court or your lawyers to undo what you took 20 years to make, which is someone that stays at home and expects you to give them money every month. The court is going to say, whatever you've accumulated from the date of that marriage until now, we are going to divide 50-50, if that's not in the UAE. UAE doesn't do that, but in most courts, they'll say, we'll divide it 50-50.
Great. At least that is very helpful. That's a helpful information anyways. But let's look at social media. How has social media and technology impacted modern marriages and divorces?
I mean, social media is a great thing where you can showcase yourself.
Okay.
Right? Showcase yourself, showcase your talent, showcase your family. But the problem that it does is that it opens a window to your world, to everyone.
Okay.
So I've seen cases where through social media, mistresses have contacted clients' wives lovers have contacted husbands and partners. I've also seen through social media how children can be very vulnerable to adults that don't have good intentions. So I really welcome this idea that the UAE is saying social media shouldn't be open to people under 15, because it's like everything. If it's not dealt with properly, it damages. And I think we have to have safeguards around it. Not just damages about what you see. I see myself, how much time I spend on social media. You're doom scrolling for hours where you could be doing something else, something more productive. And I see this, even my finger, one of my index finger, because I'm always on my phone and I work from my phone a lot, the shape of it has changed. So if that's what it does on my finger, can't even imagine what it does to your brain, to your setup, especially as you're growing up. So I think it has a negative effect, because it creates people that are not social. And when it comes to relationship and families, you have clients that stay on their phone, or husbands or wives that stay on their phone and don't socialize within the family because they're on their phone all day. So, not so great.
We can't talk about divorce or the reality of divorce without talking about how the children suffer.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you're a family lawyer, you might have seen a lot of cases like that. So what do children understand about divorce that adults often underestimate?
They get it faster than you do. Often I'll have clients that will come to me and they will say, oh, the children don't know. And then I will say, well, how old are they? Is there a girl? They will know. And they will tell you that they know. Or once you break it to them and say, we're about to get divorced, they'll say, oh, finally, oh, we knew. They're very perceptive children, and they're very resilient. Very, very resilient. So they know what's going on.
I've heard people say that they stayed in marriages because of the kids. And I believe you should have, heard that a thousand times. And my first question about that is it safe to say so or do so? And at what point do you say, okay, irrespective of the fact that, okay, the kids are there, we need to end this?
I think I'm going to say something very controversial here, but if it's not good enough, that relationship is not good enough for you, why do you think it's good enough for your child to see that and see that as a value for a relationship? Because your children look at their parents' marriage and see that as a benchmark. If you say, I'm only staying for the children, that means you're saying this is not good enough for me. So why am I creating a benchmark like that for your children? And I go deeper than that. If it's not good enough for you because you're being abused, whether financially, emotionally, physically, don't stay, because then you are not only creating the wrong benchmark for your children, but you're damaging them. You are giving them the wrong idea of what a relationship should be, and you are creating narcissists, you are creating codependence, you're creating domestic abusers, you're creating domestic violence victims by remaining in marriages that are not, if they're not fit for you, they're not fit for your children.
So what's the most heartbreaking thing you've witnessed a child go through during a divorce?
There are two things. I remember a case that I did years and years ago where the parents didn't speak to each other. And this poor 3-year-old had to go down. They were living in Arabian ranches. And because the mum wouldn't allow the dad to help the boy bring the bag, she didn't want him on her property. So he would put this bag on this 3-year-old, this backpack, because he'd been with dad at the weekend, open the gate. The poor boy will have to walk all the way, because mum, of course, doesn't want to see him, all the way to the door to be greeted by his mum. And then the same. Or you have parents that will say, you can't take these shoes to your mum's house. I bought them, take them off. And that, for me, is not acceptable.
But how come two people that once loved each other so much, I love you, you love me, we are so much in love, How come there's this kind of hate for each other?
Because that's what love is. Love is like fire, right? It can keep you warm or it can burn you. It's you have to be able to juggle with it, and that's the problem. And I think when it's two adults, burn yourself if you want. But when there are children involved, you have to take the high road. Even if the high road means, oh, he thinks I'm a mag, or he thinks that he can do whatever he wants, or she thinks she can do whatever I want. As long as that shields your child, take one for the team.
But most times, partners, they use kids as a weapon to fight each other.
Yes.
Custody battles.
Of course.
I know you might have seen a lot of that.
Yes, a lot. And to be fair, in negotiation, sometimes as lawyers, we use that as pressure points. We do.
Is that fair?
Sometimes that's all you have to fight with. So it's not the physical child that you're saying you can't see him, but you'll say, well, if you're not going to give me any money for me to look after myself and my child or to live decently, be prepared to see him just a few hours a week.
So why should the kids be a pawn in the games?
Because money is a pawn. So let's say, for example, I'll give you an example, especially with UAE law, where a father pays for his child fully and doesn't necessarily cover spousal maintenance, okay? But the women will have larger level, especially if it's a young child, larger custody of the child. What we normally say to clients is say, look, work together and find a balance where you're not going to pay as much money, you're not going to keep the child 100%, and you find a balance that works for both of you. But if you don't, sometimes to get to that, and to be fair, the majority of my cases are settled. We don't fight in court. Maybe 10% of the less than 10% of the cases fight in court. But to get this balance, it takes time. And it takes pressure points.
I've seen fathers that love their kids. They cannot have access to their kids.
Yeah.
At some point, they even had to resort to social media call out and rants. And
Yeah.
and I know what it means to have a kid that you cannot be in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's about very heartbreaking.
Of course.
And as a divorce lawyer, a family lawyer, and as a woman, I know women, they have this sister code, woman to woman talks, you know. I understand. Probably it wasn't okay between both partners. What would you say to women? Because at the end of the day, when I did my research, I found out that most issues in societies as a result of absent fathers or people that didn't have father figures. Yes, the relationship did not work out between both of you, but your child also have to pay for that.
I'd say a man has two roles in the family and a woman has two roles. You are the mother and you are the wife. He's left you. He's not left the children. That's one. Or you've left him, but you've not left the children. That's one. But you can have your marriage could have broken down. So your identity as husband and wife doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
But as parents, you're going to be at it for the next 21 years. And a bad wife or a bad husband doesn't make a bad parent. It's not true.
What's the difference though? Because I've heard this somewhere before.
Because you can have wife duties and suck at them. You can not care about taking care of your spouse. You can be very selfish with your spouse and not look after them and fail as a spouse. But you can still be a great parent and love your child. I have women sometimes that come to me and say, "Oh, he's not gonna see my child." And I say, "Why? Why? Well, he's walked out on us." No, he's walked out on you. He's not walked out on that child. He's walked out on your marriage. He's not walked out on parenthood. And the problem is we mix those emotions. And
So how do we distinguish that?
I think when people separate, they should go to compulsory family counseling, where even if you can't stand it, you still have to go counseling with that child, where that child understands that mom and dad are going to be separated. We're not going to be living together, but it's going to be okay.
In all your years as a divorce lawyer, what has divorce taught you about love?
I strongly believe in marriages. I really, really believe in the foundation of marriage, despite being a divorce lawyer. And it's taught me that with love, you have to be patient.
How patient can you be though? How patient can you be?
You have to be understanding, but you also have to be patient with yourself, because the patience that you're giving is not just to your partner. You're growing, you're changing, so you have to be patient with yourself too. And you also need to understand that nobody's perfect, and no one's going to do things you want them to be done. It's not possible.
Amazing. My final question before I leave the studio, because I'm practically out of time. You've had front rows of relationships and marriages for years. If you could place a single sentence on a billboard that every married person in the world would see tomorrow morning, what would that be?
Speak to each other. Genuinely speak to each other. When the day ends and you're in that bed, talk to each other about how are you, check in on each other. We don't do that. People go to bed exhausted and they get up, the rat race starts. Speak to each other.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been an amazing time. I enjoyed every conversation. I learned a lot. And I believe you watching this, you actually got a lot of insight. Thank you so much, Madeleine, for the wisdom, the nuggets, and the experience. And I know you're watching this, you got a lot from this. So if you enjoyed this conversation and what we do here, kindly subscribe, share, and leave a comment, as your support is really appreciated. Thank you so much, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's good.